Welcome to Salcedo Paranormal. It is Sunday, January 29th, 2023, and today I am sharing true paranormal stories from the web. As always, you can find all the episodes of the show along with links to social media and other ways to contact me in the episodes. I believe I said that already at the podcast page, and that is salcedoparanormal.podbean.com. That's SALSIDO paranormal.podbean.com. Always happy to hear from you all, whether you have comments or questions or topic suggestions or stories of paranormal experiences, whether they're your own or from others that you trust. Happy to either read those or have you join me on the show to talk about them. Excuse me for 1 second here. I was doing fine, and all of a sudden I need a drink of water. All right, so hopefully that'll do it. Don't know where that came from, but that happens. And so, again, this is True Paranormal Stories from the Web. I've got 2 stories to share today. And so, yeah, that's the plan for this time. Now, on Wednesday night, Thursday morning on that show, I will be sharing more, reviewing more stories from H.P. Lovecraft, the complete fiction. And that is the plan for the next long show. So, and until then, it'll be alternating days of true paranormal stories on the web and then paranormal news. So let me get to the stories here. And we'll get started. So, okay, let me see here. They're somewhat short today, but they're still, I think, good. This one says, when I was in primary school, I went to an old school. I don't remember a lot. One day, I was in after-school care. My mom came to pick me up. I forgot something in my classroom. It says the doors are always unlocked. So I went to get it. I was in the classroom, and I looked around, and something felt off. This sounds fake, but it did happen. The plant pot, I guess they mean potted plant, fell to the ground. I paused and started crying as I ran away. I knew that the pot wasn't anywhere near the edge of the desk. I heard from good friends that they had experiences, weird experiences like that at our old school. It was most likely haunted. So that's a short story, but it does track, it seems like, so many places, especially with their older places, older schools, older buildings. There's activity there. And I wonder, though, with that, because you have so many people in a room, so many kids even, if sometimes things like that happen with where all that energy is just there and it sometimes builds up and somehow leads to objects moving, I would wonder what the other experiences are that would probably help maybe determine what's going on there, really, I would think. Because otherwise it just sounds like what you would call a poltergeist kind of situation. And if that's the case, that could be a spirit. That's not to say that it can't be, but that could also just be. I do believe it's possible to have energy build up and then cause events like that. Let's see here in the chat. Derek says, "Oh wow, that's weird. I wonder if the person knew it was haunted before the experience happened, and that's why they were immediately scared and cried. Otherwise, that's a pretty strong reaction. Makes you think they sensed something beyond just the sound, unless they knew it was already haunted. Yeah, it doesn't seem like they didn't say they knew it was already haunted, and they said they don't remember a lot. So I wonder if they didn't know. If they didn't know, then Yeah, that's a good question as to that factor and that whole thing. Um, I guess if they never had any experiences, even something as, and I hate to say as small as an object moving, but even something like that where there's no visual apparition, there's no scary face or figure, there's nothing like that. But if you've never had an experience, I mean, the first time you have an experience, it can be really frightening. I think almost whatever it is. Um, so that could be a factor if they never had an experience before. And if they found out after the fact, um, then yeah, it's a lot of factors at play. And that's the amazing thing about these stories is there's so much more to them than anyone can write down, I think. Um, and just in terms of what they think of at the time they're writing it down, um, what they think of after. There's no there's no interaction. Um, it's always hard to tell. So I would hope it's just some kind of an energy buildup that maybe they sensed that then led to the object falling. Um, but yeah, it's hard to say without any more details. So, but still, that tracks with all the stories of haunted or activity happening in schools and hotels and hospitals. Really, any kind of place where you have large gatherings of people for any period of time, I think things can be happening. Um, and then if it just happens to the one person, especially if it's a crowded room, it might be easier to write things off when something weird happens because you could think, oh, that person must have bumped into this, or any number of possible things going on there. But when it's just one person that has the experience, or maybe two, where you know neither of you was at the location when it happened, then that's a little bit harder to write it off. So anyway, I know that's a bit of a ramble on the whole spectrum of possibilities there, but again, I think that's why I share some of these stories that are very similar to other stories, because the whole point is to have these discussions and these thoughts about these things and try to find patterns in them. So, but yeah, so that's the first story I had for tonight, and so let me get to the second one here. Now, the second one here, it's really amazing because it started off. I was interested because it tracks with it's a particular kind of event that I've heard about before, but there's another little twist in it near the end. So here we go with this one. This one says, the funniest thing happened last night. I was cleaning my apartment and I noticed I kept finding dimes, as in coins. I turned on TV to watch while I folded laundry, and it was in the middle of an episode. One of the first things a character said when I turned it on was, my aunt has a ghost in her house that keeps leaving dimes everywhere. A lot of weird little coincidences have been happening to me lately since someone close to me passed. This one seemed to get more of a reaction from my mom and boyfriend, though, so I thought I would share. And that's where that ends. I know it's a short one, but again, the synchronicity there. I think I think there's synchronicities more than coincidences. That's if they're turning on live TV, if they're turning on live TV where um it's not something that an episode they're picking where they would maybe subconsciously know that's going to happen in that show. And it sounds like that, maybe, at least the way they wrote it, to have that line on that show at that time. Now, what I'd wonder is did the dimes keep appearing after that, or did they stop? Because if they stopped right as that person had that experience with that TV show, hearing that line on that TV show, that is even more. And it sounds like I would guess Well, then again, they said it was last night as of when they were writing it. So, but um, then maybe that means no more dimes did appear. So, and yeah, so Derek has this right here. I've heard of the dime thing specifically being a signifier for synchronicities and to be on the lookout for them, not just with paranormal stories. Yeah. And again, like I've shared at least a few stories here. Lily says it's serendipity. Yeah. Um so but yeah, I've heard of stories. I've shared stories on the show here before about people finding coins, dimes and pennies and all those things. But and so I would have shared the story either way. But then it got to that factor, that twist, like I said, that extra bit of verification. I wonder now, okay, so where did they get the thought to turn on the TV while they finished doing laundry? That's a question. Was the spirit, if it was a spirit as the writer seems to maybe think, were they aware somehow that there was this TV show on? And again, this gets into how the awareness behind all this. That, oh, there's this show on TV. I need to make these coins appear. But see, then you would almost have to know the episode and know that's going to come up. And then drop the dimes and then somehow maybe give that suggestion, hey, you want to listen to TV, and then have it be that exact channel. That's why this story is so amazing, and to me anyway. So let's see here. In the chat here, it happened to my boss a few years ago when he was having a tidal wave of syncs happening to him. Interesting. Derek says, yeah, it's complicated and the person has to notice it. So they have to control them noticing it at the perfect spot in the show, which would be beyond complicated. Yeah, exactly. There's just so much there that you'd have to be aware of and able to influence. And that's why that story, sometimes the shorter ones, just because it's the length of a story does not make it more or less interesting. At this point, I don't think, because that was not a really long one, but that one that caught my attention. That was just really amazing how that worked out. Had to happen at that time when it did, or whenever that one episode. But then how often? Yeah, it's like it had to happen at that one time. So anyway, that's why I wanted to end the show with that story tonight, because that blew my mind when I read that. So that's all I have for tonight. But thank you all for being here for this to listen, and to be here for the chat. Yeah, Derek says, and the more stories you do, the better it makes the shorter stories, because we have a ton of references, to compare it to. Exactly. So thank you all for being here and listening. I'll be back tomorrow with paranormal news on the next episode of Salcedo Paranormal. Take care, everyone.